Jersey, Crit, welcome. So how is everybody doing? I myself have had better days. I'm on the mend. I get to go to physical therapy now, so a couple of you guys in here were doing that. I missed a significantly large step. I thought the surface I was on was flat, and there was a step, about a 15-inch step, and landed on my leg wrong or something. It did something to my hip, so now I've got to go start doing physical therapy. Hello, Lynn. Welcome. All right. So tonight, then, we're just going to do something that's actually by request. I've done, this is like I think like the fourth Warrant lesson I've done, and every time there's been several of you guys that have been asking for Uncle Tom's Cabin, so that's what we're going to look at. And it was really funny is that when I went to revisit that song, I didn't know that there was a music video for it. I don't remember there being a music video for it anyway. Anyhow, it's pretty hilarious. But the one of the guys playing, it looks like one of those banjo guitars, so it's like you just play it like a guitar, but it sounds like a banjo. It looks like he's using one of those because you can hear that in the mix that it sounds like a banjo sound, but it doesn't really sound like a banjo to me. Hello, Dan. Welcome. All right. So as usual, there is a link in the description for the tabs. So get those so you can follow along. And if you like what I'm doing, you like the content, hit that thumbs up button, all that, never mind all that YouTube algorithm stuff. It just shows these guys that I'm doing a good job and that I can continue to do this for you. This isn't my channel. I just work here. All right, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to grab those tabs. So what I've done with this is what I've done with a lot of songs in the past. It doesn't just read from start to finish, like, you're not just going to sight read this from start to finish and play the song. It has, we're dividing it up into sections. So once you know how to play a section, you can tell, oh, okay, well, they're, this section is the verse, so they're going verse, chorus, which is pretty typical for like, pop music. Yeah, so we've got like the intro verse, and then the heavier verse, and then the chorus, and then I think like a bridge section. So one thing with this, I'm not doing, when I say the intro, I'm talking about like the intro of like when the song actually starts, like before the vocals, not that big long, I'm not sure what it's doing. There's a lot of open string pull off licks in there and stuff. It's not that part of it. This is just like where the main meat and potatoes of the song starts. All right, so I want to have the music up here because when I was fiddling around with this, I kept trying to like change parts of it, like trying to Darrenize it a little bit. All right, so for this first part, it's like, so this is the intro, and then the like the first verse is sang over this as well. So we these aren't like really, I mean, they're anytime you're playing more than two notes together, it's a chord, but we're not going to worry about like chord shapes here per se. So we're going to start off just with your middle finger. You're going to fret the second fret of the D string, and we're going to hit the A string open and the G string open. And we're going to do this as eighth notes. So this is like 1 and 2. So we're just going straight up A, D, G string wise. Then you're going to take your third finger and you're going to put it down on the third fret of the A string and take your second finger off. So now you're fretting the A string, but the D and the G strings are both open. Again, still eighth notes. So that's like 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so that's like the easiest part of the whole thing, probably. Not that this is like super difficult. It's just kind of weird at first. Like the way they execute this is just kind of strange, but it really isn't going to be like that difficult to pick up. Okay, so after we do, then we're going to do a slide from nowhere, but we're going to start here on the third fret. So you don't want this isn't getting counted into the timing. We're hitting that, so that's the down of 4, and then your middle finger is going to drop to the D string here on the 4th fret, and then you're going to play A, D, G, but you're sliding. Whoops. When I'm playing it slow, I keep putting too much emphasis on that note. It's like, you just want that quick pick and slide at the same time. But when I play slow, I end up like exaggerating that delay for some reason. Your part. I don't know what you mean, Jersey. Okay, so we're not done with the sliding though. The sliding actually gets a little bit. I don't know. It's not really hard. It's just kind of weird. But if you don't get it with the timing with it right, it really kind of falls apart. So, whoops. Oh, I said easy. Okay, I should have known. Jersey, he's our comic relief. Yeah, so that's like the first measure. Actually, just that 4 when we hit the 4th fret there on the D string. That's actually on the and of 4. So that's the first measure. Okay, then we hit the G string open on the downbeat of 1 of the second measure, and then back to the A string when your third finger's still here on the 5th fret. Then you're going to pick. So you're gonna pick the D string, and this is on the downbeat of 2, and we're gonna pick that and slide to the 5th fret for the and of 2. So like 2 and then on the downbeat of 3, we pick that 5 again and slide back to 4 on the end. It's like. Then you're going to take your third finger and put it back on the 5th fret of the A string and pick that on the downbeat of 4 and slide down to the 3rd fret on the and of 4. So that whole thing is like, whoops. So if you were starting just on the second measure on the downbeat of 1, you'd already have just ended here. So it'd be the open G string as 1, the A string on the and of 1, and then so So that's the first two measures. So that whole slidey part there, if you don't get that, the melody of it right, it just doesn't sound right. I'm glad that I kind of practiced this a little bit. Uh, I don't have the luxury of I can just jump up out of the chair and run upstairs if I want to or something. So I was kind of been here for a while, so uh, I kind of practiced a little bit because I do remember it being just a little bit tricky. Yeah, Lynn, it's a cool. Um, Warrant was, they were a hair metal band, so everybody kind of just judges all that stuff based off of, how they were dressed or whatever. And they did have a lot of like really, bubblegum corny, lyrics and stuff. But this song, it told a story. It's a really good song, and that's like it's like a really unique riff. As I'm playing this, it doesn't remind me of anything else that I've played that I'm like, oh, this is similar to that. It seems to be kind of stand on its own a little bit, I think. Okay, so the third measure is exactly the same thing as the first measure. So after you do that, then we're right back to, and then the slide up. So on the downbeat of 1 on the fourth measure, it's just like on the second one. It's the downbeat is that open G string. So that whole phrase is exactly the same. So that's kind of a way that can help you to practice this and things that are like this. It doesn't always work out that the little sequence of notes that makes up the melody or the riff or whatever, that it doesn't exactly line up as exactly one measure or exactly two measures long. Sometimes they overlap a little bit. So if you take it out of context, don't think of it like that. So you're trying to, count it all weird, and just work on getting the riff down, and then you can, put the pieces together. So with this, that's how I would think of this as. I would think of that riff as actually going through 1 and on the second measure. So I keep hitting that and then not coming back to that. Let me try it one more time. And then I would think of that as being like the second phrase. So the first phrase, whoops, that's the same starting on the third measure. It's the same thing. So the only thing that's different. Hello, Glenn. Welcome. The only thing that's different is that instead of going the 4 slide to 5 and then slide back, we're going to go 4 slide to 5. Then we're going to do, starting on 5, like a slide from nowhere to 7, and then another 7. So these are the notes, or the only notes thus far that aren't eighth notes. So these are 6 or quarter notes. So you've got the and. So let me get into position. And 1, or 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So that second time through. Hold on, did that wrong. Yeah. And then when you go on to measure 5, it's exactly the same thing. Measures 5 and 6 are exactly the same thing as measures 1 and 2. So it just, same thing again. So Oh, this is where it changes. So this is like the third measure where we're gonna, but instead of doing that slide up, we're going to flatten the note on the A string from the third fret or the C down to a B. But then we're going to follow that with the open D and G string, just like we did. So like, and then a G5. So this isn't like the G5, you know, like a power chord like this. We're going to be doing that actually here shortly. This is we've done this before, and you've probably undoubtedly seen this before. But if you just take I can actually see there's a typo on here. So if you look on your tab on that G5 on the B string, it's showing on the tab that it's open. It's actually should be the third fret. So that is super probably my bad. So if you just take regular G chord, you're going to play the whole chord. You're just going to omit the note that's on the A string. So the easiest way to do it is just, instead of being out like this, really bring your hand back so your middle finger's kind of drooping. It's picking up the sixth string, your E, but the A string's muted. And then the rest of the chord. So you're just getting a bunch of G's and D's basically, because that's what a fifth power chord is. The first and fifth note of the scale. So that's the end of it. Like, all right. So you play through that. What is that? 5, 6, 7, 8 measures. You play all the way through that once, and that's like the intro. And then you play all the way through it a second time, but there's vocals over it the second time, and that's where it actually, like, the first big change of the song comes, where it gets heavier and more, and more just using like power chords. It just becomes more of like a like an 80s rock song. So does anybody have any questions thus far? I hope that the people who requested this are here, or at least some of them. All right. So since like I said, I didn't do this like where you're just going to sight read it from start to finish, and it's the song. These are just basically like the sorry, I'm trying to read and think talk at the same time, and it's not enough brain cells left to do that apparently. Oh yeah, so like when it goes to this heavier part, I just called on here heavy verse. So when you go through the second time, through that whole, or and you get to the G5, instead of starting over, it goes to this part. Now, they actually don't let the chord ring out as long. So on when you hit that G5 the first time through, well, on the second time through as well, when you hit the chord, it's actually on the end of one, but it's a dotted quarter note, and then it's tied to a half note, so it just rings out the rest of the measure. Well, on the second time through, when it goes to this heavier verse, they duck out a little early to do like this, slide down thing. So they're like, So where they're coming out on that. One and 2, 3, 4, and so it's like about on the end of 4 would be my guess. And just 15th fret's a good place, 12th fret's a good place. It doesn't really matter. You don't want to sit on the note. You just want to have like basically like a starting point and then just slide down. So you want to do that slide down so that way right on the downbeat of 1, you can start this next part, the heavy verse. And for anybody that has just joined us, there is a link in the description where you can get the tabs to follow along. And tonight is brought to you by the Canadians again. Damn fine people. All right. So this is made up of just a bunch of, just your basic garden variety power chord. Very likely the very first thing you ever learned how to do. It, like a lot of people, is like the first thing they do. They learn this shape. But really quick, if you don't know this shape, basically what it is, like I said, you're playing 1 and 5. You don't need to know that or where those are or whatever, but the shape is always the same. So here, if I play on the 3rd fret of the low E string, and then I go to the next string, which is the A string, and I skip over a fret. So I'm on the 5th fret. So I got a fret in between. That shape, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is the 5th note of the major scale. That shape is always a 5th. Doesn't matter what frets you're on, doesn't matter what strings you're on, until you get up to the G and B string. The B string is tuned a half step lower, so you have to put an extra fret in between. But we don't have to worry about that right now at all. But I mean, that's not a real super common thing anyway, in my experience. Yeah, so we're going to be doing this shape and moving it around. Now, if you do it, like the very first one is E5. So it's actually, the low E string is open. So we're going to be at the 2nd fret. Because if you imagined it like behind your nut, like this is your open string, your 0 fret. So that's still that shape, but I just use my first finger, and I'll show you why. Now, another thing too with these is anytime you're doing that shape, the note on the same fret on the next string is just an octave of the first note. So you can add in all 3 strings and kind of thicken it up or whatever, but it doesn't have to be like that. All right, so we're going to start off with the E5, and we're going to hit this on the downbeat of 1. This is like an 8th note feel riff again. So this is on the downbeat of 1, and then on the end of 1, we're going to start pedaling our open low E string, but we want to palm mute that. So we don't want to palm mute the chord, just this pedal note. This is like 80s butt rock 101, like everything, it was like this. So you're going to hit that 1 and 2, and then on the and of 2, we're going to do G5. So we're on the 3rd fret, and the reason why, whatever note your first finger is playing, if you're doing the shape, is what chord. So here, this is a G, so this is G5. We hit that on the and of 2, and then on the downbeat of 3, we hit the open low E muted, and then on the and of 3, we hit it again, and then on the downbeat of 4, we're going to move this shape from here, from G5 to A5. So we just move it up a whole step. So now we're at the 5th fret on the low E and 7th fret on the A string. And we hit that on the downbeat of 4, and then on the and of 4, the open string. So if you don't have to necessarily like count it like that. So remember, all these notes are all going to be evenly spaced. So that means that they're going to ring out for the same amount of time. So if you just want to think about it as it's like chord, open, open, chord, open, open, chord, chord, open, And then starting on the second measure, it starts with 2 opens. So we end up having 3 open strings there instead of just the 2. So it's not just consistently just 2. It does change. But that's what's going to give it this like melody. This part sounds like this is. I guess I should have just played this in the first place, but. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's what that part. So there it's going to a D5. So it's just that same shape on the 5th and 7th frets, but it would move up a set of strings. So now I'm on the A and the D string. So let's back up again. So we got like E5, 2 opens, G5, 2 opens, A5, 3 opens, 1, 2, 3, and then we're back to G5 with 1 open, G5 again, back up to A, and then we're going to hit it twice, and then we're going to hit it. This is like on the end of 3, and then we're going to hit it again, and we slide down. So it's kind of like a slide to nowhere, but it's hard to. Well, actually, I guess if I got my arm off my arm rest, it's not too bad. Yeah, so this part is easier in a lot of ways than the first part, but in other ways, I guess it just kind of depends on where you are on your guitar journey. So the first and third measures are the same. So the second and fourth are the ones that are different. So let's just get these first 2 measures down, and then we'll have most of it. So. Oh my gosh, why when I play that slow, I can't get the groove. There we go. Okay, so the third measure is the same as the first. So again, now what's different is that when we go on to the fourth measure, we just start off, we're just going to 1 and 2 and 3. So it's 5/8 notes. And then we're going to go to that D5. So the 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the D string, and we're going to slide out of it. And that'll be on the and of 3, and it's a dotted quarter note. So it's going to get a beat and a half. So it'd be like 1 and 2 and 3 and. So. Okay, and then you can see that that's a repeat. So it goes back to the beginning of that and plays it again. So you play that whole sequence twice, and then this has a first ending and a second ending. And I know that's something I've talked about like many times before, but there's always somebody out there that's their first time, right? Okay, so you look on the transcription above the fourth measure, it shows that bracket, and it's got a number 1. There's the end of the repeat, and then on the next measure it shows a number 2. So what it is that you're going to play starting there, where it starts on measure 9. You play measures 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then you go back and you play measures 9, 10, and 11, and you skip 12 and go to the next one. That's why it's first ending, second ending. So the only difference is on the second ending, instead of just the it's twice. So. All right, Crit, have a good one. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so that whole thing. Now, then after that's when it goes into the chorus. It's kind of weird, like that second verse or the third verse is like the same thing as the second one. It's just it's a lot longer. This has been like cut back. So when it goes to the chorus, the first part of the oh, okay, I couldn't remember, can't see. It just has this the that part I can't sing and play at the same time, or sing for that matter. And then it goes. Then there's like all these all this lead stuff. So we're not going to go over any of that. So this, like when you play the chorus, you have this C suspended 2. So I'm just barring. It's like a bar chord here, the 3rd fret, and all you have to do is get the A through the B string, and then your 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the D string, 4th finger on the. So it's just a regular suspended 2 chord shape. We hit this, and this has almost got this kind of a swing thing to it because we're hitting this. It's a dotted quarter note, so we're getting 1, 2, and on the end of 2, we're going to have it's a G5 over D. Oh, that's right. I decided it was easier to do it this way. Yeah, so I do it's just like a G chord, but we're only playing just the top end of it. So, and then we go to a D. It's a D5, so it's just your regular D major chord without the high E string. Now, if you end up getting it in there, it doesn't make it sound bad or anything. It's just defining it that it's not a 5th and it's actually a major. So you have the. Can't get that groove. Oh, hello, Jimmy. Welcome back. Canada. You guys are what's getting me through this. Okay, and then at the end of that phrase, they just hit that same D5 that we did on the verse, where we slid out of it. So I keep having trouble getting back up to that because it's weird. You're at D, and then another D, just so you can slide out of it. And then, so that's the part they sing, I know a secret about Uncle Tom's cabin, oh yeah. And then the lead guitar stuff comes in. So what the rhythm guitar is doing behind that is just kind of like what we were doing on the verse with the, but a little bit different. So we've got the E, it starts off the same with the E5, G5, A, and then we do this, after the A, we do the 3, just like we did where it was like some kind of a chord that slid out. I can't remember now. I guess I could go back and look. Yeah, it was that D5 sliding out of that D5. it does this other thing here, that which I think is actually kind of really cool sounding. But then it's going to go back to 3, the G5, and it's just going to move up chromatically. So it's going to go 3, and then just move it up a half step to 4 and 6, half step to 5 and 7, and then back down to 4 and 6, and then back down to 3 and 5, and slide out of it. So you get this. I think it's kind of cool sounding. So then it goes back and does that same thing again with the C suspended to the same we were just doing. And it kind of alternates back and forth between that, like depending upon the length of the chorus. Like this particular one is short, but the second one is the same idea, but it's longer. It's like twice as long. But it just kind of keeps trading back and forth between that same idea. So the whoops. And let me try that whole thing again. Is that what it does at the end? Oh, I was trying to add something there that wasn't there. Yeah, so. And then it just repeats, just trades back and forth however many times. So that's why I said that once you know the parts, it's really easy to put it together. And then on the last one, it goes to an A5. So A string open, and then the second fret of the D and or G string. So I can just regular A major. You're just not getting the C sharp on the B string. And then it basically goes back and does like another verse, and then, guitar solo in there or whatever, maybe this extended chorus. So on here it has the second chorus it's extended, but it's just the same thing. And that's how they use that to end the song, to get to the end of it. Let's see, where does that start? So. Yeah, it's weird to play that part out of context. If it was a song I listened to, I mean, I've heard it a billion times, but if it's not like it's like I hear it very often anymore. But yeah, it's just those basic chords, and it's easy to kind of get on the groove with it, especially play along with it. And I don't remember for certain, but it seems like they're tuned down a half step on this, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. But yeah, so that's basically all of the parts to it. Does anybody have any questions about any of that, or just guitar questions in general, or whatever? It doesn't have to be about that. well then I guess we can wrap this up. It's kind of a bummer that I don't think that anybody of the people who've requested this, like I said, it's been multiple times, happened to be here tonight, but that's all right. It's still a cool song and everything. So yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. If you like the content and everything, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, yada yada yada. But yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'll be back next Wednesday, same time. Don't know what we'll do. We'll figure it out then. But hope everybody has a great week, and I will catch y'all next time. Thanks.